What the hell you got up there? Let's pull this up here. We got folks piling on in one at a time. Come on, come on. Boom, boom, boom. How'd you sleep, Bracco?
Not so good, actually.
Oh no.
Feeling good this morning though. Been at the desk for a couple hours, kind of got in the zone.
There we go. Body's fading off a little morning gap so far. Any big gappers? Zim gapping down 5% or 6%. It looks like off that the strike news, kind of coming into a big retest spot near 24. BITO gapping down 5%. What is that? Oh, that's probably just their dividend or what?
Yeah.
What else we got here? Dun, 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 dun. The volume. Dust gapping down a little bit. Gold, GDX, you got up. Okay, okay. GLD, silver. What do we got here? Hey, we haven't talked about this. I think it's early here. There's not yet a pattern, but I do want to keep watching the silver weekly chart. I like the way that this is shaping out. I think it'll need a little bit more wiggle, but one I got eyes for in the future. Mm. All right, everybody in. Not here, you're late. Good morning, welcome. You ready to get going, Brecco?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Let's do it. First day of October, October 1st, beginning of the fourth quarter of 2024 today. 3 months to end the year strong. That's some exciting stuff here, guys. Um, yeah, so let's go over the indexes. We'll go over SPY, Qs, IWM, some levels of interest, kind of, some overall structure of yeah, some like the broader market setups, go over some a couple of the large caps, go over some individual stocks on the watch list today. Kind of recap some of the video that I sent out yesterday evening. Some things that I'm looking at. Rocco will go over some things he's got eyes for, some morning news and all that stuff, and then yeah, we'll get rocking. If there's anything he wants to look at in the Uncharted Territory Discord chat, let us know. We'll take a peek and let you know if it's a good idea or a bad one. Straight up. All right. Hey, actually, today's open. This is like ideal spot to open at today. A flat open or even slightly lower would have been okay too. But I think this is ideal. Especially looking at SPY. Let's take a look at the cues here. Yeah, flat open. So this is super nice because what we had yesterday, and I went over this on the video last night. is, we undercut these 3 days of price action where we just, first off, this has been kind of like a jumbled mess on the indexes. By jumbled mess, I mean like how the intraday candles have formed, right? Just like dipping lower, pushing higher, closing at the same price we opened at for, just multiple days. And then we kept gapping up and closing lower, gapping up, closing lower, gapping up, closing lower, right? But yesterday, right, we had that gap down, which I thought set up some, pretty good opportunity. We saw it in some individual stocks, pretty much as soon as the market opened. And we ended up dipping lower when Powell was talking down to this 568 spot. And as I highlighted, you can look in the top left corner to see the prices. But anyways, right into this zone of support. And there's a lot of support levels. If you just zoom out, right, we are just breaking out of a pretty long consolidation on the S&P going back to July, right, where it's been, fairly volatile, right, dipping lower, ripping higher, dipping lower, and then kind of breaking out here. So now we've built like these huge possible supports below, and this was the first time that we've really kind of drifted down, where it's for the past like 6 sessions, it's been grinding up more so. And anyways, really quickly, this got bought up. You might be able to chalk it up to the end of month, end of quarter, stuff, but either way, price is price. And we can play what's true now is true now. Closing just below all-time highs. And I do like this 574.50, which was the opening price from 926. So last Thursday, we had like a pretty big gap up of what was that, about 0.8% or so. And then we faded off pretty quickly at the open, ended up recovering, into the close a little bit. But, for a little while there last Thursday, it got a little bit dicey with some individual names. As we're noticing, maybe from positions or, even short opportunities, things got a little bit dicey. So I think this 574.50, right around yesterday's high, just over that, is a pretty good breakout trigger for this. And I think if you break that and sustain that, I think you got 580, 582, 585 pretty quickly after that. You got $5 ATR on SPY, so maybe it takes 3 or 4 days. But I think that's pretty reasonable. And then if you flip over here to the weekly, it kind of, still trending up, made a higher low, making a higher high now. So we're searching for how high this can keep trending, right? And then we've got all this room to make a higher low to confirm, right, this, uptrend on the weekly chart of SPY. So this could, right, we're still inside, and that's why I want us to, right, break those highs and sustain over there. But there's still the possibility that we don't go red to green, or we don't sustain over these highs, and we still kind of drift in. And if you look at the weekly too, that would be fine to see this consolidate above these previous all-time highs at 565 to 563, and on the weekly, and put in another higher low, would continue to set up a lot of charts and bring more distinguishing relative strength standout stocks if we do continue to go sideways. And really not until we breach, I think, this previous all-time highs from back here in July and again at the end of August, and really start rejecting from underneath, do I get concerned about the market. So until if that occurs, then we can, right, obviously make adjustments. We'll have multiple days, if not weeks, to make those adjustments. But for now, a weak open, flat open after a really strong close with a clear breakout trigger on the S&P, I think is pretty cut and dry. Alex Jones had a phenomenal alert for SPY calls as Powell was kind of finishing up his speech, or really mentioning this. We were pulling down into the daily 9 EMA. He had been tracking that fairly unusual SPY options flow, and had alerted SPY calls at this, and pretty great timing with the strong close here. Brock, I know you mentioned that QQQ anchored VWAP. from the FOMC, which is from Wednesday's candle, which we, held pretty much to the penny. I've just put it on right there. It's kind of all messed up. I not as clean visual on my chart. So if you want to put that, you can. But anyways, awesome stuff. Let's see if we can break 574.50. Supports down below of 568. Okay. QQQ starting to wedge down, kind of build out this, maybe flag pattern. I again, very similar type of approach to this. I think the S&P has a lot clearer triggers, but the QQQ has a little bit more room up to this 493. If you look at the same 926 gap up, that's at 493.70, to where if the S&P starts going and it's led by things like Nvidia, Netflix, Meta, Amazon, Microsoft, Tesla, Apple, then the QQQ can justify probably maybe like 490s to get up to this 493 or even 492s right with proper time. We are holding now this open gap from that July 17th to where we this was big CPI day back in July, wedged within that day, broke down, and this was a pretty bearish open gap that we had a little bit of trouble against that 486 to 488 spot. We kind of just held that as support for the past 3 days, and gave a little undercut and reclaim of that 488.30 spot. So that's really my kind of key area on this yesterday's high for this to maintain above and kind of confirm like a little 65-minute flag breakout yesterday from this spot. This is where we ended up closing out on this really strong dip down to the support and close higher. So yeah, you can keep your eyes on pre-market high and 488.30 today, in my opinion. And then IWM, I've got these two lines right here as the last week's high and low. The reason I have those marked out is because it was an inside week last week. We've been kind of forming
Double insides on the weekly.
Yeah, it's it's going to be fun. And so I think that's what is that, 223.11 is that weekly high. The interesting thing here, again, if you look at these candles, they're filled, right? They're filled red or filled green. That means we opened higher and closed lower. So IWM has had trouble intraday, but it's still maintaining really within, again, this big FOMC candle here with that big upper wick. Which is fine, right? It's been really orderly. And then yesterday was the first chance on a gap down, IWM gap down, I think 0.6, 0.7%. It was the first chance that we weren't like showing morning strength, that bears could come in and fade, but it was morning weakness that bulls could step in and hold support and kind of build out, more support levels or more notable support levels or confirm those. And they did, and especially towards with the way this closed up near 221, I thought was really nice. And again, we've got down opening down 50 cents. I think this is a really good red to green candidate today to rip over yesterday's close around 221, pop over yesterday's high 221.6, and push towards the previous week's high around 223, and then break that inside week. And then you're looking at this big 226 breakout spot, 227. Okay. Again, even if this wedges down a little bit further, what you might end up, getting, right, I'm going to kind of draw it out, is even near term right here, if this wants to come back and test what, in my opinion, some pretty strong hourly support around 218.50 to 219, you might end up getting another one of these little baby intraday, or sorry, setups right here over the past like 9 or 10 days. And then we can, look to take that, very similarly if this does want to drift down and test this support again. And then when you zoom out, it's kind of very similar, like a little fractal build out right here that we've had over the past 2 or 3 months. You could have like a little mini version in here. I don't know, maybe that's a little conspiracy theorist, but yeah, that's my looks on the indexes. I think it looks good. If the market wants to make me look stupid, then so be it. God bless America. That time, I'll send it over to Brocco, see how you're feeling this morning. What up? What up?
Yo, how's it going, guys? I think we share pretty similar thoughts on the indexes, so I'm not going to really talk much there. Can't say that I'm seeing a ton of setups up my alley this morning. I got a couple that I'm looking at. I got a couple decent, positions that I kind of need to manage right now too. But a few names that did catch my eye this morning. First one was this Roku. Um, so there was like a PT change on this morning. I think they got like or upgraded from like sell to neutral or something, but it got this thing moving. And I was looking at it up in the pre-market. I wanted to take this through previous day's high today. I love this whole of the 20 MA, nice little undercut candle yesterday, but might be, it's going a little bit. It's up 2.5% in the pre-market. It's only moved about half its ATR though, so you might still have some room on this, but this thing's trade pretty orderly. I like how it kind of undercut into that gap and held the 20 MA, holding above this big base here. So I think this could still be actionable. It's got a really nice little flag pattern. So I'll be keeping an eye on that today. Uber is one I could see myself buying today. You kind of had a pretty tight day yesterday with this little lower wick and reclaiming the 90 MA. And I'm watching this kind of just, a lot of people kind of played the breakout of this base, which I think was a good look. And it, kind of pulled back in, and I think maybe washed the people out that, bought on this gap up day. So now it's just like retesting. We've seen a lot of these kind of break out through some spots, come back, shake out, retest, and go. So I'm kind of interested in this. I think through yesterday's high, 75, 72, I'm a buyer of this. This thing's been trading pretty slow, for the last little bit, but, this is a monster weekly base. If you just zoom out on this chart, going back to IPO, this is a huge base, and they came back and undercut those, 2021 highs. And, this thing's essentially been going sideways since the beginning of the year now. And, probably going to need some catalyst or something big to get this thing going. Their next earnings are about a month from now. But I'm interested in this through yesterday's high. If we get that break today, probably put a stop at the low of the day. Maybe this could put in another tight day. Like this could wick down to the 20 and hold. And, another tight day would be great. I'd like to set up even more. But I'd maybe look to get engaged with some size on, on this through yesterday's high. So I like this look here. I'm watching PanW still too. I would love like a really tight day on this today. It had a little bit of a, decent day yesterday. It was up like $9 off the lows. If this gave like a tight day below yesterday's high, was below this trend line, this would be like a top watch for me considering, this weekly chart here. Yeah, I love this a lot. You got, pretty much double inside weeks right now. I'm a big fan of this. I'd like this to maybe hold a tight day though. I got an alert set at 345. If we do get a tight inside day, I'll put my alert over yesterday's highs, tomorrow to play this. So I might hold off on this. I'm not sure. This high GV still looks really good though. It's gone sideways for like 8 days now. Yeah, keeping an eye on PanW. Not my like favorite look, but I think he needs to stay on the list. And then I threw this AMSC back on the list. This had a really nice move on Monday last week. This thing was up like 10%. I think this had a really sick breakout through the 50-day moving average. And it came back and shook some people out. It ended up taking out the low of the day from that breakout day, undercut the 50, got bought back up, and now it's getting tight below the spot again. Yet, again, I would love a tight day on something like this too. Because, when you get those really tight days below a breakout spot after something's held, that sets you up for, a range expansion day. And, typically I want to be buying my names on potential range expansion days. That way you kind of get that cushion, on that first, buy day. And then, you can kind of go from there. So, if this wick down to like 23 and held the 90 MA today and put in a candle similar to this with maybe a lower wick, this will be like a top focus for me tomorrow. So, would I like another tight day on a lot of these charts? Yeah, that'd be awesome. We got a red open, it looks like in 10 minutes here. Maybe they can wick these Qs back down. We retest 485 and hold. We get like another tight day. I mean, that would set up a lot of charts. But the textbook play, I guess, would be a red to green today on the market. I could see us going sideways for a couple more days and building out here too. So I don't really have much of a read on the indexes. We got the first day of the new quarter today, new month. So we'll see if that opens up some opportunities. I'm sure there's going to be some things moving that, we got to keep eyes on today. But yeah, that's pretty much it. As far as my positions, this Tesla's just been cruising. Pretty happy, with this thing, just going to let it go. I'd love for this to, build out a really nice pattern below this 365, these previous highs. It's kind of just floating up into this spot. We saw that, pretty much popped right into my red line I got here and rejected yesterday, but it had a pretty strong close. And it, He ended up closing over Friday's high, which is a good sign, I guess. Every time this thing just keeps looking like, it's going to put in like a reversal candle and it's extended, they just buy it right back up either that day or the next day. And I think anyone shorting this has definitely been getting a little bit exhausted. So I think, if this builds out some sort of pattern like this right here below the spot and the moving averages catch up, that's probably an ad spot for me. And then, hopefully this tries to take out 265. And then, you had a really, really strong monthly close on this thing. I mean, we've been talking about this monthly chart. Yeah, I'm excited to see what this can do this month. Highest monthly close pretty much since like the early part of 2023 on this thing. So certainly starting to head up the right side of the chart, seeing some positive developments here. So I'm looking to add back, to, full size on this if we get a pattern below 265. So, and then Lunar, just letting this go right now. I got some leftover shorts on these Chinas. JD's gapping down a little bit. Baba's flat. I got this Yang too from yesterday from 484 or 384, sorry. Also, you bought this EOSC yesterday. We were talking about this in the chat. I wasn't able to alert this. I wasn't at the desk, but you gave me the text. This had a sick little breakout through 270 yesterday. Had like, this is what I'm talking about, like a really tight day with a really tight close, sets up for a range expansion day, got some decent volume. Now, I imagine this $3 is going to be a pretty big spot. But we'll see what this can do today. I probably just got a break even stop on this. And then, yeah, Rocket Labs, just, this thing's extended and consolidating. So that's pretty much my names, what I'm watching today. And yeah, hopefully, I got alerts set on a bunch of things. Like I got, alerts set on like Redfin and Zillow and, a bunch of other names that like I want to get alerted when they pull back into some spots. But, some of those names are still just a little too extended with not really clear enough of a pattern for me to want to get, engaged right now. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I got some alerts on MSTR and coin and stuff, but I don't think they're ready yet. So kind of just hanging out, waiting for these. You are muted, sir.
Hello? Am I live?
Yes, you are.
I'm alive. Yeah, there are a number of things where an inside day would be extremely welcome. You started mentioning some of them. LC, for example, a lot of these actually had some really strong days yesterday, at least opening sessions. Like this LC, I would love a day under this like 1160 spot. Been building out a really nice, longer term pattern on this. Got, I think, a really nice kind of thrust day up towards the top of this base. Like I said, 1160, 1165, give or take. If this does get an inside day or 1 or 2 days of rest below this spot, this will become a major priority. RKT had some strength. Again, you got like this little baby base in this. The reason I like this a little bit, the reason I'm keeping this on the watch, it is a little bit, mangled on the daily, but this weekly chart is 5.5 weeks into the weekly 9 EMA after a really nice breakout over this 15 spot. And if you're zooming out, right, we're, over those IPO lows, right, kind of working our way in a nice uptrend to where, I think, longer time frame dips will get bought. So if we can kind of rest underneath this 1975 spot, I do like that as well. Same thing with like Redfin around this 13. Could this turn into like like a baby bear flag? Sure, but when you look at the higher time frames, do I want to be? I want to be right in confluence with the bigger picture trend. So if that does end up, losing Friday's low and yesterday's low on this, pulling deeper into the 20 MA, I'm going to be looking at this support area right down here with the big breakout day around 1175 and see if this wants to like undercut the 20 MA, kind of do a day or two of, nuzzling underneath these MAs and then bounce back on through this base. We've seen that, on a few things. I keep coming back to like this SE, how it kind of danced right around these moving averages for a little bit. I tried this long a few times in this area and it was taking a while. And then all of a sudden, right, thrust through the MAs, pulls back, retests, and then just, becomes a monster trender, right? So anyways, keeping that on the list here. This CrowdStrike, So this is an interesting one. You brought up the IGV, and I talked about the hack last night in the video. This was a really nice candle at the daily 90 MA. And if you zoom out, where we're holding on this is 2021 highs, early 2024 peak, and then this tight breakout spot from August and September. And then we finally broke through, at the end of September. And now we're retesting this all-time highs. This is like a classic cup and handle type pattern. Big run up, multi-year cup, and then getting nice and tight on the right side of this. IGV, if you zoom out, right, is a software ETF, right? Similar type of pattern. So this was
Yeah,
what
just pull these daily charts up back to back real quick. Microsoft,
yeah.
Microsoft, PanW, Sentinel One, and Crowd. Those are like top 5 in the IGV. And they're
Yeah.
all kind of setting up like the same patterns.
Yeah, gets me really excited about this. Crowd, I am somewhat hesitant because there's a lot of supply, I believe, in this $300 zone, which was holding us support as we pushed up to 400, and then we just knifed right through it on that, whatever the mess up was. So, I'm certainly mindful of that 300 spot being, some possible major resistance. But in the meantime, I look at this, daily, base that it's built out since July, and we're popped through and kind of retesting in a really orderly fashion. It's had a lot of volume on 920, almost 18 million shares popping through this little baby base. And now we're sitting back here retesting it. I want to keep our eyes on this. You mentioned PanW, an inside day under
Dude, a
345.
lot of names in that ETF look really good.
Sentinel One. I love this too. I've got alerts that are a little like 2415. And then yeah, Microsoft is on my list as well. If we pop over previous day high, I think 430. You can even use pre-market high price. Yeah, 430 flat. I think triggers a pretty reasonable trade on this. Been talking about this 428 to 426 zone for a while now as like a little bit of a neckline. This was previous all-time highs, and we rejected here, and then are holding this as support. In a pretty orderly fashion. So if the market does get some speed, instead of taking the indexes like we talked about, maybe look at something like, this Microsoft here. Oh,
You got a minute and a
UNH.
half till open.
I want to cover UNH quickly here. I think this has a really clean trigger at 586.70. It's had an inside day yesterday. If on the weekly chart, I don't want to lose sight of this. We broke this 550 all-time high breakout after consolidating for 2 years and pulling back to the 50-day moving average. We're holding that holding all those MAs. Tight inside day yesterday. Clean trigger on this, in my opinion, at 586.70. If you break that, and I think you go for 600 calls for November, December.
XLV's based in at the 50-day too.
Yeah. So I've gotten alerts on UNH, very possibly take that. All right, we'll end the Twitter pre-market stream. Hop on over to check out WAP.com Uncharted if you want to check out the group. We'll be live trading until the afternoon on Zoom, answering questions, going through charts, sending out message and alerts in each of our channels. Alex Jones with the options flow. Let's go do what we do. People, get your stock boxes filled out.
First day of the quarter. What was that name you bought into the close yesterday again?
Oh yeah. What is it called? SWI Solar Winds.
Yeah, they're in that was one in the IGV too that looked really good. Nice, dude.
I almost bought it earlier in the day through this 1285 spot.